thought I'd seen some creepy things go on in the movie business, but I really have to say that this is the most disgusting thing that's ever happened to me.
Dead Ringers, the twisted nightmare of separation anxiety explained. Exactly how connected can two identical twins be in terms of their dependence on one another? Where's the thin line between love and obsession? These intriguing questions and many more have been explored in the fascinating movie by David Cronenberg titled Dead Ringers. Cronenberg, for many, is a director of weird films, and unfortunately for a majority of people, weird and unusual translates to bad. However, we are mesmerized by the way Cronenberg studies the human mind, and in this film, he has done it better than he has ever done. Yes, movies like Videodrome, The Fly, and Spider have all partaken in a deep analysis of human psychology, but the director has outdone himself with a work in Dead Ringers.
We have the technology.
In this video, we are looking to explore the nitty-gritty of this amazing movie, right from the storyline to the multiple explanations behind the bizarre narrative. It is not an ordinary commercial film for the average moviegoer, but if you let yourself sink into the complex world of Dead Ringers, you will have a thought-provoking, mind-boggling experience at your hands. Before we go into our list, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click from you, but it means a lot to us. Thank you. Let's begin.
We need three-dimensional prototypes in surgical steel.
A detailed synopsis. Before any further discussion on the movie, let's first take you through the plot. The story starts in Toronto in the year 1954, and we see two identical young twin boys, Elliot and Beverly Mantle. They have a geeky appearance and seem to be fascinated with the idea of sex and human evolution. They seem rather intrigued with the concept, and both of them approach a young girl with a proposal to have sex. The little girl seems shocked and disgusted and walks away from the creepy twins. The next scene is a brief flash forward, and it's Cambridge, Massachusetts in the year 1967. The young brothers have now grown to study medicine, and they work enthusiastically in a medical lab with some new ideas. They come up with a retractor machine that is rather unique, and they are awarded for their efforts. However, only one of the brothers is there to receive the award. When he comes back to the dorm and asks the other why he wasn't present, he simply replies that he was. This shows that the brothers are so connected that they thrive on each other's experiences to the point where they almost share them. There's another flash forward of 21 years, and we are now in present-day Toronto. The Mantle brothers are now successful doctors who are almost stars in their fields. Among the two brothers, Elliot is more like the aggressive and outgoing character, while Beverly is more comfortable in the shadows. Elliot is the smooth-talking public face, and Beverly is more introverted and pursues research. Physically, Elliot is a few minutes older, microscopically taller, and a shade darker, but that is too hard to find out in a glance. One fine day, a moderately famous actress, Claire Neveu, comes to their clinic for her infertility problems. After a thorough examination, it is found that she has a trifurcated cervix, which is basically 3 openings in her uterus. Elliot is fascinated by this abnormality, almost to the point where he is turned on by it. He is outgoing and aggressive as usual during his meetings with Claire, and even states bluntly how she can never conceive children. The brothers had this system where they shared their women, and because of the unbelievable similarities between them, the women could never tell the difference. It starts off with Claire as well, and we see the brothers switching the appointments with Claire. Elliot convinces Beverly to have a tryst with Claire, same as he did, and despite his apprehension, Beverly goes ahead. However, trouble starts brewing when Beverly develops feelings for this lady and is no longer keen to share his experience with Elliot. This creates a mini feud and misunderstanding between the inseparable brothers, and eventually Beverly reveals to Claire that he has a twin brother. She initially teases him, stating that he could be schizophrenic, but when she has lunch with Laura, she gets to know about the twins Beverly and Elliot. To her shock, she realizes that she has no idea who she's been sleeping with.
You can be honest with me. After all, I am laying both of you, aren't I?
She narrates her ordeal to Elliot, and he is visibly agitated about their secret being revealed. However, he agrees to arrange for a meeting where both the brothers would be present. They meet for dinner, and Claire reveals that she knows how the two brothers have been manipulating and using her. As she storms off, Elliot is somewhat amused by the turn of events. Beverly, however, has developed strong feelings for Claire and is saddened by the situation.
Explain what? Explain what?
It is from this moment on that there seems to be great discord in the relationship between the two brothers. We see Beverly arriving at an award ceremony in a drunken state. It is so unlike him to be a part of some public event, but he attends the event in sheer frustration. He even rants about Elliot taking a lot of credit for his hard work. However, the two brothers reconcile briefly. We learn that Elliot has been offered a job, and there are hints that the long-term association between the brothers might be broken soon. Beverly apologizes to Claire, and the two have a romantic evening. But that night, he has some disturbing nightmares that are about Claire forcibly separating him from Elliot. The trauma increases the drug use that was already in effect. On the other hand, Elliot too is trying to come to terms with his new way of life. He fornicates with identical twin prostitutes, and during the act, he tells them to call him by his own name and also his brother's name. We realize the true extent of their association and how messed up their brotherly bond is. Elliot even tries to persuade Claire not to see Beverly any longer, but she rejects the idea, stating that Beverly is very different from Elliot, and she even rejects his advances.
I like your brother very much.
Claire has to leave town for some contractual work, and Beverly goes further down the drug abuse lane. His insecurities take over and turn him into an obsessive maniac who keeps doubting the loyalties of his girlfriend. When he calls the hotel Claire is staying in, her secretary answers the phone. Beverly thinks that it is her lover, and he even tells him about her strange mutation. He then storms off to meet Elliot and then tells him about the affair that Claire is supposedly having. On his work front, the relationship ordeal hits him hard. He makes a metalsmith redesign some of the medical tools, and he thinks that these tools would effectively deal with the mutations that he wants to treat. Elliot's drug problems increase as well, and overall the practice of both brothers is suffering terribly. During one instant, Elliot freaks out on the operating table while he is trying to use the new tools. Although he tries his best to manage the situation, the medical board forces them to close their practice. He still continues his carefree dating habits, and during one of the dates, he makes Beverly dance with his girlfriend Carrie. When Beverly realizes that they are about to seduce him, he breaks away. By now, the drug problem has taken a serious toll on his health, and he collapses. He is rushed to the hospital, and Elliot takes it upon himself to help him with the addiction and detox him. He keeps Beverly locked in the clinic that will serve as rehab for him as he fights his addiction.
But what am I going to do then? You'll stay up.
But Elliot is unable to fight his own drug abuse, and it keeps increasing by the day. His girlfriend Carrie is seemingly worried about his behavior and even tells him how he is steadily becoming more and more like Beverly. Elliot states that all he wants is to get synchronized with his brother, and it is at this point that the audience realizes the hopelessness of the situation. Claire is back again, and she seems to have sorted out the terrible mix-up with her secretary. She asks Beverly to meet her once, but he is locked in the clinic. With some desperate efforts, he manages to break free, and en route, he spots an art exhibition that is showing the tools he had the metalsmith make.
Excuse me, what are you doing?
The meeting with Claire turns out to be pointless because Beverly is by now too far gone. He asks her to fill out a prescription for the drugs he needs, but she refuses. He gets back to the clinic in a disoriented state and notices that the office has been trashed and Elliot is in the shower totally wasted. They decide to try their best to quit their addiction, but it is a bit too late. Elliot almost sounds like a child, and they are both in a terrible drug-induced state. Beverly operates on his brother in these conditions, and he uses the tools that he had designed. By the time he awakens from his drug-induced sleep, he finds out that Elliot has been disemboweled. Beverly has now lost it completely, and he somehow cleans up and gets packed, prepared to leave. He even calls up Claire, but when he is asked who is calling, he cannot formulate an answer. We realize that his identity crisis has reached its epitome, and he is in a permanently dazed state. The film ends as we see him heading upstairs and collapsing by his brother, intertwined with Elliot.
They're gynecological instruments. for working on mutant women.
Our take on the classic. You simply cannot deny the fascination that we all have regarding twins. It goes to the point where even when a twin shares a nod or a glance with the other, we feel like some telepathic connection is going on. Dead Ringers dwells so much on this subject that it was previously slated to be called Twins. David Cronenberg is never shy when it comes to exploiting the possibilities of oddities in his movies, and he makes no exception this time around. The story is loosely based on the lives of Stuart and Cyril Marcus, who are real-life identical twin gynecologists in New York. It is believed that they died on the same day from their barbiturate addiction, and the movie fuses this with Cronenberg's good old theme of psychological scars. He brings up two messed-up geniuses, Elliot and Beverly. The former is more of the dominant twin, and he knows his way around women. He seduces them first, and after sleeping with them, he turns them over to his brother without them having a clue.
If we didn't share women, you'd still be a virgin. No.
However, all this experimentation with their lives, personal identities, and even their partners ends up being detrimental to their psychological health. In a true Cronenberg fashion, this film finds itself in the familiar territory of perverted science, twisted psychologies, and mind games. It all begins to fall apart when one of these girls finds out the secret. To make matters worse, one of the brothers is in love with this lady and unwilling to share her with the other. The biological oddity in this woman is that she has 3 openings to her uterus, which basically translates to the fact that she cannot bear children. A kinky love affair starts brewing between Beverly and this woman named Claire.
I'm still vibrating all over.
She also shares her drug problems with Beverly, and the use of these drugs enhances the craziness that is manifested inside him. One of the specialties of this movie is that the director approaches the exploitative content with the objectivity of a scientist. It is this detached style and creepy content that makes this such a sensational experience. If you think of Beverly as Dr. Jekyll, Elliot is Mr. Hyde, but at all times, both these personalities have a common awareness.
You haven't had any experience until I've had it too.
So what is it about Claire that attracts them so much? You have to understand here that much of the narrative is all about the dualities and ambiguity of their personalities. This is precisely the reason behind their attraction as well. For instance, Claire has her share of dualities as well. She is a big star who is infertile and a failure in terms of her reproductive health. She is dominant, but also gets turned on by being submissive in her relationship. Cronenberg's love affair with brilliant special effects is nothing new, and we have seen the best of his works in The Fly. In this movie, he uses a technique called moving splits that fools the viewer who tries to spot the line. It is different from the usual split screen, where you can actually spot a line between them if you look closely. Cronenberg moves the camera positions and the position of the split at the same time to avoid this line. It was the first time that a filmmaker used computer-controlled moving map photography, and this is why the Mantle brothers seem convincing as 2 separate people.
Hello, Mary.
Doctor.
Then I'll just need your tissue rejection data.
We found it hard to deal with the descent into madness as the 2 brothers slowly slipped into insanity. They tried to use pills to move away from their addiction to pills, and their emotional burden was becoming way too much for them to handle. There comes a time when the brothers briefly switch personalities before our eyes, and it is hard to grasp just how disturbing human psychology can become. This unsettling aurora builds up an unexplained paranoia towards the end of the movie, and the disturbing ending does nothing to make you feel any better. It just shows the extent of the maddening association between the 2 brothers, where the absence of one throws the other one off balance completely. The way the film ends clearly shows the end of any hope for the brothers, and you can see that the one alive is no more than dead without his brother.
Let me introduce myself. I'm one of the Mantle twins.
Some of the possible themes in play. While the movie is a thorough character study of the twins, it does have its share of twisted themes that you must understand to enjoy the film better. One of these ideas has to be the dominant separation anxiety that disturbs the 2 brothers at all times. Their fascination with sharing the women also points to the subconscious desire to return to the same womb that they once shared. They both know that eventually they have to endure the separation, but the thought of it is too hard for them to comprehend. Beverly is absolutely in distress when his brother is not there, and this causes him to become obsessively dependent on Claire. He has to resort to drugs that help him numb the pain of separation, but it actually makes his situation worse. His attachment with reality weakens by the day, and the instruments that he has made for him are a testimony of his mental state. Another notable theme in this movie is that of inner beauty. It starts with the fascination that the brothers have regarding the trifurcated cervix and leads on to shape a lot of the conversations. The way the brothers explore the inner body is almost like they're turned on by the abnormalities. We even have a conversation that makes one of the brothers say out loud that there should be a beauty contest for the inner body as well. In this, people would be judged based on the shape of their liver or the curving of their uterus, etc.
Solid gold plate, that is. The mantle retractor.
The theme of bloodline and identity crisis is obvious from the poster itself, where you will find 3 pictures molding into one. The imagery is perfectly dealt with by the director, who never fails to highlight the same in various scenes. Let us consider the scene of surgery where all the surgeons are dressed in strange red flowing robes. It looks absolutely insane and seems like a scene straight out from some sci-fi horror movie. The shapes of the instruments are a hint at the mental state of Beverly because they seem more like tools of torture than something that would help in surgery. The alien nature of the instrument is heightened by the spooky lighting in the scene. You could also see the way the brothers function as 2 sides of the same brain. They are the emotional and the logical, the feminine and the masculine, the easygoing extrovert and the introverted side. Even if you observe their names, Beverly and Elliot, they are effectively feminine names. But eventually, it all comes down to one mind in some deep psychological crisis. It becomes seemingly clear as they fall into addiction and madness.
I must be the only woman in town who doesn't know about the fabulous mental twins.
The acting performances. The movie wouldn't have been possible single-handedly with the genius of David Cronenberg. The terrific performance from Jeremy Irons, who stuns in a dual role, deserves as much appreciation as the director. He proves his skills as an intelligent and subtle performer, and it is his great talent that he manages to introduce the minute differences in the characters of the 2 brothers. It is important for the audience to not lose track of whom they're watching on screen, Beverly or Elliot, and Jeremy Irons ensures that you know exactly who is who in every scene. He seems a perfect fit for the role, especially when you learn that it was actually William Hurt who was the first choice for Cronenberg. Even Robert De Niro was considered for the role, but he wasn't too comfortable playing a gynecologist. Eventually, it all turned out for the best, because Jeremy Irons surely made this role his own with some power-packed performances. Geneviève Bujold as Claire is also impressive in her role that juggles between a vulnerable woman hungry for love and affection and a confident lady standing her ground when required. She clearly dominates her professional space, but somewhere we see her desiring to be dominated in bed. The other members of the cast also stepped in with believable performances that added to the brilliance of the movie.
We'll use these.
Our final words on this movie. Dead Ringers is a serious reminder as to how our brain functions in a crisis, especially when it's one that deals with separation. It is a grim narrative that brings out the tragic outcome of the 2 brothers, and if you are someone fascinated by the dark side of human nature, this might be the one to go for. We must warn you, however, that you will not get the usual Cronenberg style of horror and gore. The scars are permanent, and don't expect something with a jolly ending that puts a smile on your face. Overall, if you dare to experience something drastically different from the ordinary and something quite damaging to your mental health, Dead Ringers will be an unforgettable watch for you.
Dr. Elliot Mantle?
Yes.
Special order from Escort Embassy.
A Dead Ringer series in production. If the movie wasn't enough shock for you, there are talks about a new TV series based on Dead Ringers. A reimagining of the 1980s cult classic by David Cronenberg is in the cards, and Amazon has taken over the project. There is an interesting gender swap in this TV series, and Rachel Weisz is all set for a new role as the lead and executive producer. Morgan Creek Entertainment, the company that was behind the original movie, is once again involved, as is Annapurna Television. Alice Birch, who happens to be the lead writer of the Normal People series on Hulu, is also associated with the project. The Mantle twins will be played by Rachel Weisz, and they will be portrayed as the most extraordinary and successful people that you have ever met. Once again, they have the uncanny resemblance, and besides being identical from head to toe, they're on a mission to work on changing the way of women giving birth. The series will explore a darker and stranger territory, as the story will take you through everything from drugs, illegal medical research, sex, and fatal attractions. It will also dive into themes such as women's health and the general issues faced by women around the world. The Mantle twins share everything from drugs to their lovers, and they also share a determination to work hard to challenge the outdated practices and bringing about a positive change in women's healthcare. It is believed that Rachel Weisz, who is a big fan of the original movie, came up with the idea and teamed up with Annapurna TV. Rachel Weisz has had a glorious time in the recent past with her Oscar nomination-worthy performance in The Favorite and her much-awaited role in Black Widow. We believe this will be a series worth checking out, and if it can match the complexities and brilliance of the original, the fans will have a blast.
This is all the time we had for today's episode. We hope you guys liked it. It would be awesome if you guys can take some time to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to tell us which topic you want us to cover in the comment section. Have a fantastic day ahead and stay safe.
She's unbelievable.